takes us to the other side of the world and to a country famous for its rugged mountain scenery. We've landed in the South Island of New Zealand and are heading to a home nestled in the wilderness, half an hour's drive from the nearest town of Wanaka.
Whenever people have spoken about the South Island, they talk about it as sort of a bucket list place, one of the most beautiful places in the world, and it is.
It's extraordinary, the clouds on the top of the mountains.
And so little building, Piers, that's what I'm noticing.
Nothing.
This area of outstanding natural beauty is fiercely protected by New Zealand planning laws. So much so that any opportunities to build here are extremely rare. But 12 years ago, when a plot of land came up for sale, homeowners Mark and Susanna jumped at the chance to fulfill their dream of living in this remote mountain range.
But the hurdle of securing the land was only half the battle. They had to find an architect who would embrace the challenge of designing them a home that will be camouflaged within the surroundings.
It's a lot to ask of an architect, isn't it? To say, look, I've been in love with this thing for my whole life. This has been a dream for me. And then to say to them, now create the perfect house for this environment that I adore.
But if it can't do that, then no one should be building. People shouldn't be littering little houses in beautiful landscapes. They really should be understanding how precious this is. This landscape is so fragile. Once you've spoilt it, it's gone for good.
And we're here. Wonderful, isn't it?
It's quite a subtle little thing, isn't it? Nestled down here.
Which I'm pleased about, because I was, rather dreading it might be something big and ostentatious, but it isn't. That roof absolutely follows the line of the mountains. It's rather lovely, isn't it? It almost disappears, doesn't it?
Taking on the challenge of designing a building to fit within the landscape, the architects took inspiration from the triangulated geometry reflected by the mountains. They combined that with the unusual sculptural forms found in origami to create this truly unique structure.
I mean, that's extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hunkered down, all kind of blends in, doesn't it?
The architects carefully selected building materials with colours and textures which would disguise the house within its environment. The wooden cedar cladding and concrete window frames were inspired by the surrounding trees and mountains to create a weathered camouflage. I mean, really beautiful. Some of the nicest cladding I've seen, actually.
So not too much glass then? That was a stipulation.
Not too much glass, no metal. And the timber goes on the roof as well here, so it is a very low-lying building that probably is semi-invisible from the distance.
I imagine it's almost completely invisible. I mean, it really does. It's camouflaged absolutely into the landscape. Right, here we are through the church door. This reminds me of Liverpool Cathedral, this door.
Inside, you truly get a sense that you're wrapped in a three-dimensional origami structure. There are unconventional angles almost everywhere you look. As well as creating a beautiful internal space, there's a real purpose to this innovative design. The angled roof juts out of the ceiling, allowing light to enter the building in a variety of ways.
Look at this. Look at the sun now. Here I am right at the furthest point in the house from the light, and the sun is flooding in across the cedar. Look at it, it's beautiful.
It changes it.
It does.
A lot, actually, not even subtly. The room changes quite dramatically, doesn't it, because of the sunlight. It's incredible.
And it's lovely looking through into different spaces. And that cutout upstairs.
That's amazing.
It's great.
I don't think there's any glass there either.
No.
I think that is just another portal, another way in.
But actually, you know what that's really about? That is about getting that view when you're upstairs.
That's some view, isn't it, Piers? gorgeous.
It is. This is my favourite type of building that has daylight from the back, sunlight from the back, and view that way. And I really do feel protected from the drama and the weather by this big cutout. This is a very cleverly constructed home, built to protect its occupants from the blistering heat in the summer and howling snowstorms in the winter. It's no wonder this house is christened the Cloak, or to give it its Maori name, Kaitaka.
I mean, I can see why this guy fell in love with this exact piece of land, because you don't come across views like that more than once in a lifetime. So you would remember it, you would fall in love with it, and you would want to come back and stay and raise a family here, which is what he's done. It is somewhere that, once seen, it would never be forgotten. I'll never forget it. The piece is lovely.
Here we are, love.
Oh, God, shattered. Thank you. Thanks.
While Caroline takes in the mountain air, I want to examine how this house pulls off the difficult trick of bringing in light without relying on huge amounts of window space. This is an extraordinary site, but in many ways it's quite a tricky site because the view is there and the sun is there. And in this climate, you need the daytime sun. So the section is the thing that tells you all about this building. And what the section here is really just two beautiful pavilions, one sitting above the other. The problem with that is that the bedroom one is shielding the living one. So all these architects have done is pick up a bit of roof like this. And what that does is allow the sunlight to enter right the way into the heart of the house. And what they've done at the view side is then make a shaded veranda, really, to allow you to always see the view. And that shows that architecture isn't about making strange shapes or trying to think of a concept. It's just looking really hard at the view and the daylight and then making sense of it with a building.
This house gives up more and more of itself as you delve into it. The internal use of concrete throughout creates a cave-like and remarkably cosy feel.
This is a lovely room. It's like a little sort of den, study or something, little family room. More of this lovely concrete. I love the way you can see how the concrete was formed in the planks of wood. Still see the shape of it here, and it looks just great with the mountains.
This cedar staircase takes you up to the two master bedrooms, both with spectacular mountain views.
There's no question that is the most beautiful view, but for me, one of the most exciting things about this house is the story of it. Mark saw this land as a young man, and he's stuck with that dream, and he's managed to build his house, his dream house, right here, looking at the view he's always adored. And that must be the definition of a dream home, your dream come true.
The two architects who designed this house are based in Auckland on the North Island. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Gary Lawson and Nicholas Stevens are award-winning architects. How did you deal with the responsibility of building in this extraordinary place?
I remember when we first came to the site, we actually came out on a boat. We were looking up and we saw this gorgeous landscape, which reminded us of almost like fabric draped over rocks. In that, we saw an idea for the house. You know, in the mountains, you see triangles. You don't see perpendicular angles. You don't see verticals and horizontals. So we wanted to architecturalize that kind of idea, and through origami is how we came to that.
And the interior particularly feels like the most exquisite bit of furniture, which is crafted beautifully out of extraordinary materials. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we wanted to create this sensation of being a little bit like being in a cave. We took the whole faceted geometry of the rocks around and we sort of created an architecturalized version, especially around the fireplaces. Each of those fireplaces was cast in a precast yard in one piece.
By going to a precast yard, we could ensure that the product would be top notch and then transport it to site.
But transporting these huge concrete precast elements to such a remote location presented its own problems. Poor roads and bad winter weather caused huge delays. Gary and Nicholas employed a small team of builders who were willing to work in such an inaccessible location. Consequently, the house took 3 years to complete, but the level of craftsmanship that these builders brought to it is second to none.
In New Zealand, there is a real resourcefulness amongst builders, and there is that it's a bit of a cliche, but there is a sort of can-do Kiwi attitude to making stuff. And look, this builder would never have made a building exactly like this, and he cared so much.
I think for the last 150 years or so, we've really struggled to know how to build beautiful buildings in landscape. I think this building is a really good model in terms of how to do it. It's a complex building, but actually it does some very simple things. It makes a series of spaces that are beautifully lit with fantastic atmospheres. I do love these materials though. I mean, they're beautiful, aren't they? This rock, look at it.
The architect was called Grass Materials.
The last leg of our architectural mountain discovery takes us a little closer